How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. There's a big week ahead. We have a lot of interesting events happening this week, and we just heard some interesting news. If you don't mind, hit subscribe, turn on the bell notification underneath the video so you can see future videos just like this. There's going to be a link down there to Marjax where you can trade cryptocurrency. There's also a link to Blowfin where you can trade cryptocurrency on leverage or just spot. You can do either. But I really do like both of these platforms, and I'll leave a link to BYDFI BELOW underneath the video. This is a place where you can actually buy meat. You can buy it with Bitcoin, or you can just buy it with fiat, but they do keep some of the proceeds in Bitcoin. So it's a good Bitcoin only, or it's a good Bitcoin business as well. If you want to support and use the code FINANCE15, you can get 15% off at checkout. Now, investing.com shows us there are a lot of Fed speakers this week. I mean, look at this. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and I'm not going to keep on going on, but a lot of Fed speakers. I'm not sure why so many people need to speak. We do have the FOMC minutes on Wednesday as well, so a lot of people will be watching that, trying to get any indication as to where the Fed is moving next. We also have a handful of economic data coming out: existing home sales, jobless claims, FOMC minutes, services PMI, etc. So not a lot of the big ones like CPI, PPI, PCE, but some of these are important, and people will still be watching them. Now, speaking of something that people are watching, we have been watching these Bitcoin ETFs since the beginning. Obviously, honestly, after watching the price of Bitcoin for 3 months or 4 months, 4 months now, after these ETFs have been approved, they are almost directly correlated. Like the correlation is very strong where if we get inflows into the ETFs, the price of Bitcoin goes up and vice versa. And, maybe it's because they're doing the majority of the volume. I guess we could figure out, right, if they're doing the majority of the volume. But what I think it really is, hey, there's this underlying crypto trading that's been going on for years and years, and it's pretty even between buyers and sellers. Sometimes one goes up, sometimes the other goes up. But then you throw on the ETFs on top of it, and if there's more net buying here, well, then obviously there's a lot more buying than selling. And if there's more selling, it kind of tips the edge or tips the scales the other way. So we have seen on weeks that Bitcoin ETFs buy a lot of Bitcoin, the price moves up very drastically. Like last week, we had 13 or 14,000 Bitcoin bought by the ETFs, and Bitcoin's price went up 10%. So I think it's really important to watch these ETFs still going forward. And just some big news today: Grayscale CEO Michael Sonneschein steps down. So this is what they're saying. As we position Grayscale for its next phase of growth, they're excited to welcome Peter Mintzberg as Grayscale CEO, effective August 15. So still months down the line. But he's coming from Goldman Sachs. He's also worked at BlackRock, Oppenheimer Funds, and Invesco. So some of the largest money managers in there, including BlackRock. They also want to thank Sonneschein. During his 10 years at Grayscale, Michael guided the firm through exponential growth and oversaw its pivotal role in bringing spot Bitcoin ETFs to the market, leading the way for a broader financial industry. So honestly, I think Michael did a pretty decent job with what he was forced to do. I'm guessing he got word from up high that they had to keep the fees high for Grayscale because I think they needed to do that to basically plug some holes in the parent company. Like they needed to keep on making a lot of money for the parent company, but maybe they've reached a tipping point where the parent company is okay. Maybe I'm just guessing here. But because of this, they're thinking, okay, if we can flip our Grayscale ETF to have lower fees, maybe we can swallow up some of that Bitcoin that's been shedding or that we've been losing because they've lost 300,000 Bitcoin basically. So maybe we can get some of that Bitcoin back and we won't completely lose this ETF that's really like our prized possession right now, our cash cow. But maybe we should also switch up the CEO so that way it's a fresh new look for the company. I think he got forced out after all these outflows, but I could always be wrong. Maybe he wants to actually go do something else. As you can see, though, we did flip positive for GBTC last week, which is awesome. We went from 50,000 Bitcoin, 56,000 Bitcoin being lost. Imagine that, 109,000 Bitcoin being lost in 2 weeks to an inflow. So pretty positive, I think, that they are getting inflows, and the ETFs in general just swallowed up a lot of Bitcoin last week. You know who's also swallowing up some more Bitcoin? Mr. 100. They had just bought 104 Bitcoin, just a cool 7 million USD. This is interesting. I don't think we've seen this before where the number was almost exactly around US based number, but it is interesting. I wonder if they actually meant to be right around 7 million or if that's just a happy accident, because that might give some indication as to who this entity is or who this person is if they buy round numbers in US dollars. Kind of interesting. Now, a lot of people might be thinking too, like, okay, Bitcoin's price has done okay the last week, but since the halving, it's been pretty boring, right? So since the halving, we're up a couple percent. We're like at 64,000, so maybe 65,000 during the halving. But why has it been so boring, right? Some people think, okay, I really want this thing to start moving, which is fine. But keep in mind, it usually happens this way. 1 month after the halving in 2012, we were up 9%. 2016, up down 10%. 2020, up 6%. 2024, plus 5%. So this is pretty on par. But then 1 year after the halving is typically when we see the big gains. Even 3 months after the halving, that's typically when we start to move up. Like, we have pretty muted movement until about 3 months after, and then we get the big move. So this is kind of a nice accumulation zone if you haven't built up your position. 2012, we had an 8,800% gain. 2016, about a 300% gain. 2020, 550. And then 2024, who knows yet. But I think you should be ready for some gains. I mean, even a 300% move from, or a 300% gain from where we were would put us well over 200,000 per Bitcoin. So yeah, I think we'll all be happy with that. And we do have news about someone moving $1.09 billion worth of Bitcoin from Binance over to cold storage. So yeah, some big moves. Some big entities are pulling crypto off of exchanges. Now, I don't think this is any cause for concern about Binance. I think this is someone that just went and bought a lot of Bitcoin and then went and stored it on their own cold storage device. But, if you do get worried about an exchange, it's always better to pull your crypto off. Better safe than sorry at this point, right? And let's see. You can see the ETF flows overall week by week. And honestly, again, if you just go compare this to the price, it is uncanny how close this is to the price of Bitcoin. Like, when we get large inflows, yeah, the price of Bitcoin goes up drastically. When we see an outflow, the price goes down. And part of it might be psychology. Like, we see it. We see the outflows, and then people get worried that we're not going to have any more demand for the Bitcoin ETFs. So then they start selling, even if they don't have the ETFs. And then when the ETFs buy a lot, they're like, okay, the ETFs are going to continue to buy. People are still trying to get allocation through the ETFs, and then they swallow up a lot more Bitcoin themselves. And that could play a role in it as well. But I would love to see another big week. Imagine we have something similar to this ramp up where we have 18,000, 26,000, 44,000. Imagine how much Bitcoin would be swallowed up right here and how high the price would go. I honestly think we could make a run to the new all-time high. But let me know your thoughts. Again, if you want to trade cryptocurrency, there are the links underneath the video. And I covered this in a different video, but maybe I'll make a full video on it. It is interesting to start looking at Margex in the sense that you can trade with different forms of collateral. So if you think Bitcoin's going to 2x, and then the same time you think Solana is going to 4x, well, you can trade the Bitcoin chart if you want, because you think maybe there's going to be less volatility, but you can trade with Solana as the collateral. So you can put Sol as your collateral. You can get the 2x on Bitcoin. Sol, well, 4x. So let's say you're at a aggressive 20x, right? So you 20x your position because you're doing or you're getting 100% return on Bitcoin and you're up 20x. So you're going to 20x your Solana, but the value of the Solana is going to 4x in this scenario, right? So your Solana 4x's, but you get a 20x, the price of Solana 4x's, but then you get 20x more Solana. So if you put in $100 worth of Solana, then you could actually get a sum of $8,000 worth of Solana by the end. And of course, that's a very good scenario, right? That's a very bullish scenario. But I think a lot of people haven't played with these numbers and started thinking about how you can use different forms of collateral during a bull run to amplify your returns. So if you do want to check that out, I think Margex is one of the only places that really does that. There's also a link though to Blowfin in case you want to trade spot and futures in one place. You can check out Blowfin. It's a really good exchange. And there's that link to Beck and Below with a 15% off. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I will see you in the next video.